A very good afternoon to one and all. My name is Ms. Sweta Sham Matondkar. I am the compere for today's session. I extend a very warm welcome to the dignitaries, speakers, moderators, colleagues, and participants present. The title for today's session number 2 is Deliberation in Technical Translation, and it will be chaired by Dr. Narayan Desai. Dr. Desai is a retired school principal who has been actively involved in translation activities since 1971. He has 2 collections of articles in Konkani on education, Umare Eka Shikshakache, and on socio-cultural issues, Zagaryache Kunkare. He has translated 2 English titles for NBT India, one from Marathi for Sahitya Akademi, one for Goa Konkani Akademi, as well as from Bengali for Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia Research Foundation, New Delhi. He has translated radio plays, features and other materials for Akashvani since 1980s and has also written radio serials in Marathi. He has translated Tagore poems, songs to Konkani for Akashvani as well as for a video album Rabi Ranga. He worked as a convener of support group Konkani for National Translation Mission and has associated with Bharat Vani project of the Government of India. He is a recipient of the Sahitya Akademi Translation Prize Konkani 2018. I request everyone to applaud, please. Following are the speakers for today's session. We have amongst us Mr. S. Winston Cruz. Mr. Cruz has been with NTM since its inception in 2008. He is a team leader of the publication team of NTM. His PhD research at University of Mysore is on functional efficacy of CAT tools in Tamil localization ecosystem. He has published 3 translations. He has also reviewed many translations. He is one of the editors of Translation, Nation and Knowledge Society, a special issue of the Translation Today journal. Apart from a few research papers and articles, he has delivered many talks on topics like linguistic theory of translators, translation in the age of digital capitalism, machine translation and post-editing, etc., in different workshops and seminars across the country. He has noteworthy contributions in linguistic and cultural documentation of the Nicobarese ethnic communities of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. He has produced a documentary, Holy Land of Wizards, on the Nicobarese of Chaura Island, which has done just a couple of weeks before the tsunami of 2004. His book, Length Report, Contemplating Memes, Cultural Documentation of the Nicobarese on the Bharat Vani website has been received well among the researchers on the subject. He is also a freelance translator and provides localization and consultancy services to a Google and Uber vendor. He has also provided subtitles for Netflix and other OTT platforms. Our second speaker is Mr. Biswadip Gogoi. Mr. Gogoi is a senior resource person in the National Translation Mission. His areas of expertise include translation, localization, designing style guide, building term banks, teaching and training, research and documentation. He has published multiple research papers, book chapters, books, and has been an editor for several works. He has been a resource person for several projects such as linguistic and cultural documentation of Sikkim project, validation and lexical bill project, Central Institute of Indian Languages and so on. He has been a part of many translation and localization projects. Our third speaker amongst us is Mr. Balkrishna Chopdekar. बाळकृष्ण आनंद चोपडेकर सध्या सरकारी कला विज्ञान आणि वाणिज्य महाविद्यालय साखळे आणि MES महाविद्यालय जुवारी नगर वास्को हांगा कोंकणी विभागात सहाय्यक प्राध्यापक म्हणून शिकयता. अणकाराच्या मळार सुमार 7 वर्सां सावन कार्यरत आसा. सुमार 1.5 वर्सां टाटा कन्सल्टन्सी सर्व्हिसांच्या खाला मुंबईत रावन अणकार आनी मुद्रित शोधांचे काम केला. तशेंच अणकारच्या मळार केंद्रीय भारतीय भाषा संस्था मैसूर, AK वेंचर्स, लिरिक लॅब्स, A-पेन, RWS ट्रेन AI, क्रिस्टल ह्यूज, लँग्वेज ट्रेन, E-लँग्वेज वर्ल्ड, प्रोडक्शन प्ले हाऊस कॅलिफोर्निया, साहिल पब्लिकेशन्स, युनायटेड लँग्वेज सोल्युशन्स, प्रथम बुक्स अशा साबार संस्था खातीर अणकाराच्या मळार काम केला. लास्ट बट नॉट द लीस्ट वी हॅव मिस स्नेहा सबनीस. मिस स्नेहा सबनीस सध्या गोंय सरकाराच्या राजभाषा संचालनालयान कनिष्ठ भाषांतर कोंकणी म्हणून वावर करता. आकाशवाणी, गोवा 365, प्रुडंट मिडिया ह्या खबरां वाहिन्या खातीर अनुवादक म्हणून काम केला. सरकारी येवजण्यो, संकेतथळां, आमंत्रण पत्रिका, जायराती, विधानसभा कामकाजा संदर्भातले दस्तावेज, कायदे, सर्वोच्च न्यायालयातले निवाडे हाचो कोंकणी अणकार केला. NCERT, प्रथम बुक्स, कोंकणी भाषा मंडळ, NBT अशा साबार संस्था खातीर तांणी काणयांची आनी शिक्षणीक पुस्तकां अनुवादीत केल्यात. भांगरभूंय दिसाळ्याचेर विश्व वळख ह्या सदरा खातीर तांणी लिखाण केला. ते भायर जाग, गुलाब मासिका खातीर लिखाण केला. सानिया मिर्झा, सुविचार ही पुस्तकां छापून आयल्यात. तशेंच NBT वरवीं भीमसेन जोशी हे अनुवादीत पुस्तकां छापून आयल्या. अणकार, सूत्रसंचालन, कोंकणी शिक्षणीक साहित्य अशा विशयांचेर तांणी व्याख्यानां दिल्यात. I now hand over the session to Dr. Desai. Over to you, sir.
इष्टानो, बरोबर 15 मिनिटं उशीर झाला आणि कोंकणीच्या वाट्यात उशीर हो संवयचो आणि म्हाका सदांच ताकतीक आसता ती हाजी कितल्यो बसी चुकोवपाच्यो अशें परवडचें ना. हें जें सत्र आसा हातून भितर सत्र उसरां सुरू जावप हें एकदां घडटा, पूण सत्र थांबोवप आमच्या हातांत आसता न्ही. कारण सगळ्यांची घड्याळां आसता, सगळ्यांक दिसता की वेळार सोंपूंक जाय, वचूंक जाय. आमी एक प्रयत्न असो करुया की उसरां सुरू केल्यार वेळार सोंपोवपाचो एक यत्न करपाक शक्य आसा. म्हणटकच हे लोक जे कितें तयारी केल्या ते उलयतले आनी हांव उलयलो ना जाल्यार कोणाकूच दुख्ख जावपाचें ना. हांव फक्त एकूच कल्पना सगळ्यांक दिता की आमी सकाळच्यान जे कितें अणकारा बद्दल आयकता तातूंतली सगळ्यात गरजेची गजाल कितें, सकाळच्यान विशय कितें कितें आयले, आमचें करियरचें कितें, आमचो फ्युचर कितें. म्हणटकच भास आसा म्हणून अणकार आसा, संस्कृताय आसा म्हणून भास आसा. म्हणटकच एकाच वेळार आमी भास आनी संस्कृताय, मागीर शिकप आनी गिन्यान, लर्निंग अँड नॉलेज, ताजे नंतर कम्युनिकेशन आणि टेक्नॉलॉजी. हे मुद्दाम इंग्लिशींत इतल्याच खातीर सांगता की आमकां ह्या सगळ्याची गरज आणि ताजो एकूण अणकारा कडलो संबंध, ऍडमिनिस्ट्रेशन आणि इकॉनॉमी आणि करियर्स आणि कम्युनिटी ह्या इतल्या गजाली कडेन अणकाराचो संबंध ह्या सत्रांत लागू शकता, लायल्या. आणि तशे तरेचो प्रयत्न हे आता जे लोक आमच्या मुखार उलयतले हे सादर करतात तशे तरेचो प्रयत्न करतले. महत्वाचें कितें, आमी ज्या युगांत जगतात ताका गिन्यान युग म्हणटात. आणि आयची परिस्थिती अशी आसा की आमी जेन्ना अर्थव्यवस्थेचें उलयता तेन्नाय आमी नॉलेज इकॉनॉमी म्हणटा. आणि ते नॉलेज इकॉनॉमीक भितर तुमकां नॉलेज क्रिएशन, नॉलेज ट्रान्सफर, नॉलेज इंटरप्रिटेशन हे सगळें करपाचें आसा. नॉलेजूच दिवपाचें आसा, नॉलेज घेवपाचें आसा आणि तातूंतले बरेचशें काम हे ट्रान्सलेशनांतल्यान जावपाचें आसा. म्हणटकच ह्या सत्राचो संदर्भ जो आसा तो इतल्या सगळ्या गजाली कडेन आसा. आणि हाका लागून जे 4 लोक उलयतले तातूंतले म्हज्या 2 वाटांनी जे लागीं बसल्यात हे दोगूय जाण हे फाटलीं 20 वर्सां हे काम करीत आसात. तांचे विशय तशेच आसात. एक विषय आसा तो नॉलेज टेक्स्ट अँड AI पॉवर्ड मशीन ट्रान्सलेशन. दुसरो विषय लोकलायझेशन अँड इट्स इम्पॅक्ट ऑन लँग्वेज अँड कल्चर. आणि आमचे स्नेहाबाई जो विषय सादर करतले तो कायदो संबंधित अणकार. कारण आता आमचे कडेन सगळो व्यवहार, व्यवसाय, वेपार हे जे कितें चलता आणि दुसरे वटेन ऍडमिनिस्ट्रेशन म्हणजे प्रशासन, व्यवस्थापन हे चलता. ह्या सगळ्याक शेवटी समान सूत्र कितें? कायदो. आणि कायदो जर म्हजे भाशेंत ना जाल्यार न्यायाची आस कितलीशी आसतली. आता आयच्या काळार आमकां हे येदें व्हडलें विश्व ह्या अणकाराच्या व्यापांतल्यान समजून घेवपाचें आसा. निमाणे कडेन जो करियरा कडेनूय संबंधित आशिल्लो विशय आसा ताजेर भर दिवन आमचो बाळकृष्ण बाब तंत्रीक अणकार गरज, आव्हानां आणि उपाय असो जरी ताजो विशय आसलो जाल्यारूय ताजो मुख्य भर आसतलो तो स्पर्धात्मक परीक्षा, ताजे खातीर करपाचे अणकार आणि तातूंतलो ताचो अणभव तो घेवन तो प्रपत्र सादर करतलो. हांव सगळ्यांत पयलीं हांव विश्वदीप गोगोय हांकां विनंती करता की तांणी तांचो विशय घेवचो. तो लोकलायझेशन हो विशय आसा आमचे दृश्टीन खूब महत्वाचो अशें हांव समजता. तुमकांय पडटलें आणि ह्या खातीर लोकलायझेशन हो विशय पयलीं घेवया जातूंतल्यान आमकां ताजे कडेन रिलेट करूं शकता. येस, विश्वदीप.
Thank you, sir. I'm Biswadip. So my paper's title is Localization and its Impact on Language and Culture. So many of you may have heard about localization, but what is localization? Some people say that it is just the opposite of globalization. But is it? No. Technically, no. Actually, the opposite of localization is internationalization. And localization, the localization professionals, we refer localization as L10N. Because in between L and N, there are 10 alphabets. So to shorten the word localization, we refer to it as the L10N. Otherwise, it's a very long. And internationalization, we shorten it as I18N because there are 18 alphabets in between I and N. So that's how localization professionals actually we see these terms. Even Sebi is here somewhere. He's also one of the expert in localization in Konkani. Anyway, I'll not read it line by line because it will not be possible within this time limit. So what happened, see, 1970s and 80s, the digital revolution happened. And before that, the computer and other mobile gadgets were not at all there. So, along with the techs, the company also started investing time and money localization their products because they want to sell in different markets. Do you know that how many people in India actually speak English or understand English or use English? According to census report of India, this is just 10% of India's population who are somewhat okay with English. I mean, they declared English as their first or second language. That is 10%. So what about remaining 90% people? So they are completely cut off from technology because all technologies are in English. You talk about a mobile phone, you talk about a computer, you talk about internet and other online platforms, everything is in English. So there is a need to localize this product to reach that 90% people in India, and India is a big country. So this is a big market, and big market means it's a big money. Big information, so big money. So the term localization is derived from the word local, meaning a small area or vicinity. The Globalization and Localization Association, which is Gala defines localization as localization is the process of adapting a product or a service to a specific locale. Translation is only one of the several elements in the localization process. So there are so many other things like engineering part will be there, how to fit Indian scripts. See, for example, if you open a Microsoft Word, you will see that file, edit, insert, all those tabs will be there. How you will translate edit? Sampadana kare in Hindi, maybe. But Sampadana kare is 2 words. They are using only 1 word, edit. That takes less space. Sampadana kare, Sampadana itself is a very long word. Then if you have to add a kare there, so what will happen? You will need a big tab space to fit the entire text. So that is impractical. For Indian languages, what will happen? We will always be adding kare, all verbs. So ultimately, the button, cell phone buttons and all, it actually very small space. You cannot fit all your words there, all your language grammar and all. Sometimes we have to forget. You have to think about the practicality of it. I mean, people may see it in 2 different ways. See whether it is a good thing or bad thing, or because we know everything changes. Change is the only permanent thing, whether we like it or not. Language changes, culture changes. We may think that okay, change is for good, change may be for bad. We don't know. So today, local is used mostly in technical context and represents a specific combination of language and culture. Linguistic, cultural, and technical differences are very common in different locales. Though English language is spoken in different countries across the world, differences in spelling exist among them. And the best example of this is the word localization itself. In British English, localization is written with a S, and in American English, it is Z. Localization, Z-A-T-I-O-N. So, for example, in some cultures, there may be a certain taboos around specific colors and symbols. Likewise, how people prefer to communicate and interact with each other can vary widely across cultures, with some cultures placing a greater emphasis on formality and hierarchy than others. In such a fluid scenario, the task of localization is to adapt the product to a specific market to make sure the product looks and feels local. Localization and translation are not the same. While translation in its basic form is the transfer of a text from a source language SL to a target language, the localization goes beyond translation. The SL text is often accompanied by pictures, animations, logos, diagrams, and other visual representations. And we often see that these visual representations change when they are transferred to a target language. Even though translation is one of the major part of localization process, the adaptation of visual representation, currencies, dates, addresses, phone numbers, and many other factors and parameters are also equally important. You may have seen sometimes what happened, even myself, I get very confused. If you don't set your computer in the setting, it shows the month first. Sometimes we miss actually. Because in India, we write the date first, then the month, then the year. But this America, they will write the month first, then the year, probably then the date, or date will come in between. So this is very confusing for us. So those things will be actually dealt with in the process of localization, because we want to make it simple for our users, for Indian users. So we'll change those things if I have to localize it to Assamese or maybe into Konkani. The key elements of localizations are language, tone of voice and vocabulary. Second, content that suits local sensitivities and consumption habits. Third, design and layout that adapts to translated text. Fourth, local formats, currencies, unit of measure, dates, phone numbers and addresses. And fifth, local regulation and legal requirement. So there is a small note on internationalization, which I'll skip here. Then localization market scenario in India. Because you see, translation, everybody says that translation is very rewarding financially. If you want to pursue translation as a career, you can earn your livelihood out of it. There is no doubt. But you do a book for some government agency, they don't pay you more. They don't pay you enough money. Because they cannot. They don't have the budget. And in India, translation is considered to be a kind of inferior job than writing a book. They think that writer is more intelligent, so that's why he's writing a book, and translator is translating a book because he cannot write an original book. That's how people used to see. But now, slowly the scenario is changing because people are becoming more aware of it. Actually, what kind of attempt or what kind of research or what kind of background work is needed to translate a book. But otherwise, you see that historically, you see translators are treated inferior than an original author. So localization has actually money, lot of money. In fact, lot of money you cannot imagine. Anyway, if possible, we'll try to highlight on some of those tomorrow, maybe in our discussion in that session, how translation can be a career for somebody. Well, I'll not go into those things here. So what happened in India, actually, localization project has started mainly with Microsoft. Do you know that your whole computer UI, user interface, can be changed to Konkani? Anybody use that? You have to thank Sebi because he was one of the person who was associated with that project from then onwards. There are other people also, but Sebi is one among them. I know that. This whole system was translated, localized into Konkani and other 12, 13 Indian languages, including my language, Assamese. And Professor Singh, whom morning given a very interesting talk on philosophy of translation, he was the key person who made it possible. He talked with Microsoft, then he actually he established a setup so that and trained people. Because see, we all came from a language background or cultural studies or linguistics. We have no formal training of localization. But we all were trained there. We are taught how to deal with things. Like there are some very interesting things, interesting experience. Sometimes we should discuss about those things. Like, I don't know, I remembered one thing. It may come later, then I'll skip that. What do you use for full stop? Konkani? Full stop is a dari, that Purnabiram or dot? Dot, okay. So what happened? Microsoft, when we were localizing our product, then Microsoft said that let's use dot for all languages, all Indian languages. And they said that Hindi is using that, Tamil is anyway using that, Marathi is using that. So some 4 languages, I think if I remember correctly, it was Assamese, Bengali, Punjabi, and one more Oriya, I think. We said no. Why they wanted to use a full stop? That will decrease their amount of engineering coding. Less coding it will involve. We said no, we want Dari only, that Danda, Punabiram. We don't want to use that dot. For that they have to again code differently, that part. So those things, is very interesting. Sometimes you have to take decisions like that in localization. It's a completely decision-making process actually, and you have to be responsible about it. You have to take the responsibility. So then after Microsoft, Samsung started, then other cell phone companies, Google, Apple also. Yeah, Apple I'm not aware, but maybe yeah, they have. Google is doing in a large scale. Facebook is doing in a large scale. Xiaomi, that Redmi phone, they are doing in a big scale. I am part of their project right now. So Vivo, Oppo, everybody is localizing their product. The reason is they have to reach more person, more people, more customers. Otherwise, how those people will use? Now Jio has given almost free data they have revolutionized the Indian internet using scenario. Previously, very few people were using internet. Now, a lot of people, in fact, lot of people, though they are mostly using Facebook and YouTube videos, but still they are using. So, this content has to be localized. The UI interface and the text they are consuming, everything has to be localized ultimately. Maybe it will take some time, but it will. YouTube videos are already coming in a dubbing form or subtitling form. Everything is there. So tomorrow Winston will be talking about subtitling and dubbing. So how it is done and how it can be financially rewarding if somebody wants to pursue as a career. Anyway, I mean, let me not advertise it too much here. So I'll get into this. While the size of the global translation and localization industry in terms of revenue is estimated to be in between 47 to 55 billion US dollar, that will be some more than 3 lakhs crore, I believe, in Indian currency. And in Indian translation and localization market can be estimated as like 2 billion US dollar. That is like something 18 to 20,000 crore rupees. So as simple as that, Indian translation industry involves 20,000 crore. That means somebody is spending, somebody is earning in a year. As simple as that. So who are those people? That you have to figure it out. But see, localization is not done with a pen and paper. To do localization, you need to use technology. Whether it's a computer or whether it's a mobile phone, whether it's a tablet, whatever it may be. But along with that, you also need to know how to use tools. And these tools are CAT tools, C-A-T, CAT tools, computer assisted translation tools. So there are different type of CAT tools. Like some CAT tools are developed by Microsoft itself, some are developed by companies like SDL, Predos, and some are by various third parties. And these are really expensive tools. So unless you are serious enough, I will not suggest you to invest or buy 1 lakh rupees tool, unless you are sure that you want to get into it. So most common technology-based translation tools include computer-assisted translation tools and machine translation tools. So these tools are mostly used to help automate and streamline translation tasks and making the process faster, more accurate, and more cost-effective. So CAT tools are specialized softwares that help software developers, project managers, and translators to localize softwares, applications, documents, and other content. With such tools, translation quality can be increased and consistency can be maintained. These tools are to be used with computers or computing devices. Sometimes these tools are also referred as computer-aided translation, machine-assisted translation, means MAT, or machine-aided human translation, MAHT. The main aim of CAT tool is to assist the human translator in delivering translation faster and more efficiently. These tools are mostly used in localization as it requires a fast turnaround of high volume of content with rigorous consistency of terminology and style, because you don't have your leg space to show your creativity. One term you are using for computer, everywhere you have to use the same term. On the other hand, the use of CAT tools in creative translation or translation of literature is not very common. In creative translation, consistency of terminology and style is not a binding factor for the translator. They can enjoy more freedom and choosing an equivalent or a style. Then second part, so how localization can impact on culture and language, because one thing I already said that it's a language preservation. We can call it as a language preservation, that using of that dari or a full stop. It's a very tricky situation for a language speaker. Then other thing is that what can happen is sometimes it also can create a linguistic nationalism. That's localization. Localization can lead to a linguistic nationalism, because what happens, something is available in my neighboring language and something is not available in my language. It can be a really big issue and there can be a small movement. For example, Assamese and Bengali, they have been in class for so long. There are Bhasa Andolan in Assam. So what happened? Now the alphabet, Unicode system using that alphabet, set of alphabet, it is called Bangla script. But historically, Assamese and Bangla both script derived from the one single script, that is Eastern Nagari script. Because they were the first gone to them probably, so they have named it like that, and now there are a lot of Allagula in Assam. So why you are calling our script as a Bangla script? Because there are differences. Probably such kind of scenario is there with Konkani, Marathi, or maybe other languages as well. So this is very common. So this can actually create a linguistic nationalism at small scale and sometimes in a bigger scale. And it can be really sometimes full-blown fight among linguistic groups. So to conclude, as the world continues to navigate the complexities of globalization, the role of localization in language preservation became increasingly significant. Striking a balance between embracing globalized society and safeguarding linguistic and cultural diversity requires a thoughtful strategies, ethical consideration, and a commitment to inclusive and responsible localization practices. This article aims to shed light on the nuanced relationship among localization, language, and culture, and inspiring a deeper understanding of the challenges and opportunities lies ahead. Thank you.
वेळ आसा तितल्या भितर सगळें करपाचें आसा सो आय रिक्वेस्ट टू स्टार्ट.
Thank you, sir. Respected Chair. Oh, I can't have it here. And all our friends on the dais and okay, knowledge. There's no presentation. It's a. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Shall I? Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. Knowledge takes and AI-powered machine translations. Right. That's my title. And from the morning you've been hearing, right, different things about people speaking and showing suspicions, and some of them are not there. I wanted. Right. Okay. Right. Somebody wanted to like know the technology behind it. Somebody said "Zameen Asman ka fark hai," like between machine translations and the thing. Ma'am moderated it so well. That session also so sir started like in the beginning processing, right? So one thing is that there's a person who writes on this artificial intelligence and machine translations by name Ale Lommel. He said that machine can replace those who translate like machines. Machines can translate substitute those, right, who translate like machines, right? So that's the thing, right, about literary translations and other things, right? But if you see technology, like we saw a demonstration of the technology also in our paper, right, that it is possible to use technology for your work, right? It is possible to use technology to a great extent, right, and benefit from it, right? But if you see, okay, leave that, right? I'll give you directly. Like now, why are we worried so much about this machine translation? Suddenly, like in a paper like this, last time if you had conducted a year ago, you wouldn't be, saying so much about machine translation or AI-powered translations. But now it has become the focus, especially with the arrival of this large language model-based GPTs, right? The GPTs, chat GPT kind of thing that you saw, right? So people are now, they're seeing its potential, right? They want to use them in their full potential, and also are afraid of them, right? Because we lose our jobs, or what will happen to our future? Like what will our children learn? What will they get from it, and things like that. So it's a kind of it has created a disruption, right? In seeking knowledge, in using internet, right? That's the introduction. It's okay. Right. So what happened is, like, till now, we were all searching internet for many things, information especially, right? And when you searched, right, the technology was like that, these pages in which the information are there, they are ranked, right? And they will be searched by the search engines, right? You will be Googling it or using Bing or anything like that, right? Yahoo, or in the past, right? Now nobody uses it except a few. So that way, right? You'll be Googling it, you'll be searching for it, and they'll produce according to the ranks they had of the pages, right? Then the pages themselves, the pages provided by like Wikipedia or Britannica.com and those kind of people who provide this information, what they did is, like, they had to arrange their content in a different manner. Like, where this search engine, it's called search engine optimization, right? Where you get the best results for your prompts, for your queries, right? You get the best results. So now what you see is, like, if you simply type a word, most of the search engines will give a definition of it. You don't have to say define, right? It'll give, right? And you simply give the name of your language and the word, it'll give a translation of it, right? Things like that. So it, like, does some extra work. What happens is, like, these pages themselves have been redesigned, right? So that the best results are searched out from there, right? That's how it was done, right? So, like, all of them, they started using, rearranging their content so that the search engines are, like, they can take them easily, like, from it, the translation, right? Right. So even YouTube, right? You see, now you can create a bigger video, right? And you can divide it into chapters. So that, if, like, for instance, I have given one example, like, if there is a video on, planets, right? And you have a chapter for each planet, and the person is searching for only one planet, Jupiter or something like that, then it will go to that particular part. It will show that. Even video results, like, only that part will be shown, right? If you want to see front and back of it, like, you can go forward and backward. But that part is particularly chosen, like, especially when you see so much of like advertisements on YouTube itself, you'll see, like, teaching you Excel and using it fast, integrate it with your Microsoft and use it for your work space and those kind of things, right? You will find videos on those things very well organized, right? Their talks and people who give those lectures, and you will be able to go to that particular like space, right, where this thing is, like, subject is being taught or not talked about. So those kind of things have happened, the rearrangement of content. Now what happened with large language models, like what we say, the ChatGPT and kind of things, what they have done is, they've kind of arrogated it, like, they have taken that space by force. Now the same content which the search engine operation, like, optimization used and, try to get the best results for you, now the GPTs, they train themselves on those places and they create the content for you. It has become easy for them. GPTs, it has become easy. This rearrangement of all this information has become easy for them, and they are using it. For instance, if you simply give a like prompt, like query, like, how many people died in the train accident in Balasore, right? So immediately you'll see, like, in Google, of course, it will come on top. In Bing, you'll see, it will come on the side pane, right? The GPT results, right? And ChatGPT is integrated into Bing, that you must be knowing, right? Google uses Bard. So it will, it will start with, this is a very tragic incident where, this many people died. It will add that line for you, right? And it will, like, and if you want to know more, you can expand it, right? The information is taken from the same page, like, your search engine operation, like, will find out, right? Same thing, search engine where it finds the information, the same thing is used there, but slight tweaking of that information to make it conversational AI, right? Conversational generative AI. But at the back end of it, if you want to know the technology, it is actually working still with statistical methods, right? Whereas, I'll quickly finish the paper, right? What happens, the difference between GPTs and machine translations, right? Machine translations in between, I don't want to go back to the origin and things like that, right? So, it happened like that. Okay, let me make that point. Machine translation, when did it start? It started actually during the World War II, Second World War, right? When Germany used to send a lot of coded messages, the Allied forces wanted to, decode them, decrypt. Okay, you're sitting here. I was looking over you. Okay, right. So they wanted to, get that. So at that time, by a person by name Alan Turing, right? He's considered as, one of the fathers of computing, along with Charles Babbage and things. So they were all involved in those things. Before that itself, machine translators had been made. Somebody had applied for patent, two people, right, in Russia and France, and they were trying to, build systems, mechanical systems, which will find equivalents for your, words. If you give a word from another language, it will find equivalent, right? So they were using a motor, and it's a mechanical system, okay? But with decoding, right, that was happening, some people came up with the idea, okay, if you're decoding German from an encrypted message, it is like changing Russian into any other language, Russian into English. Like the encrypted German and decrypting it is like doing a translation. So why don't we use that? Right? That's how the information thing came, and many people took it up, and IBM also invested in it a lot, and lot of hope, right, about something called fully automated high quality translation, FAHQT, right? Fully automatic high quality translation was possible. That's what people thought. Like now we are thinking that GPTs and this AI will take away your jobs and things like that. That time the same kind of fear was there, right? Of course the technology was not that developed. Today the technology has really developed, right? So that time everybody hoped, okay, this will be possible, fully automated high quality translation, right? And then people associated with it slowly realized that with the technology available at that time, it was not possible, right? It was time consuming, more expensive, right? And simply not possible to deal with the way humans dealt with it, right? There was one person by name Bar Hillel. He initially raised this skepticism. Then after that, there was a committee set up by the American government. It was called ALPAC, right? That ALPAC committee report actually said that this is prone to errors, and it is very expensive, it is inaccurate, right? So many things, right? And all that, there was a disillusion with what happened. So till now, the hope they had, right? Big hope, that it will bring really a change, and that hope was lost, right? But what happened is immediately people shifted. That time the research, right, shifted to developing CAT tools. What Biswadip just said now means use computers to help human translators, right? So don't expect fully automated, the high quality translations. Now use computers to help people in translation. So that was the idea. Now CAT tools were developed, right? And CAT tools were developed in a fashion where you can, it was created as an environment, right? It's an ecosystem now, right? It's called content management system or translation management systems, where from separating the files to assigning it along with all the supporting files, even calculating the payment, right, for those files, and integrating term banks, right, term databases, integrating machine translations, everything is possible within a CAT tool now, right? So the concentration shifted, the focus of research shifted to CAT tools. Though machine translations, like also like that research also was happening, especially through the route of rule-based machine translations, then statistical machine translations, then there were hybrid methods, right? All these were happening. Google itself was involved in many of these things, right? And massive multilingual translation is what was the actual game changer, right? Before GPTs came in, right? Massive multilingual translation that happened with Google itself picking it up from a paper and supporting it. What they did, right, is like bringing in a technology called neural machine translations, NMT. So what you see as Google, like suddenly, like 3-4 years back onwards, right, you see a vast improvement in Google results. If you're using Google translation, you would have noticed that that it helps really, right, for many kinds of sentences, right? Of course, like there are many funny things. I have so many of them, right, in my thing. Like it is like I can show you umpteen such examples, even here, right, in this paper at the end. But what happened is like but it does help, right, in many other contexts, and it does speed up things, especially in an age where we want knowledge text to be translated into many of our languages, because the vast knowledge, especially like like by knowledge text, of course, we have a very limited definition. We try to say that pedagogical materials used in higher education, right, is what knowledge text for National Translation Mission, right, to which with which I am associated. So we consider knowledge text as like that, right? Otherwise, you can find knowledge from comics to Upanishads to everything, right? So knowledge is there everywhere in all kinds of texts, but we restrict it to the higher education textbooks. So higher education textbooks, if you see, vast number of textbooks are produced globally, right, by many people, like from in many languages. Now, like to bring them all into our languages, like in a language like Konkani or Tamil or Hindi or something like that, we don't have enough resources. So, and now, especially like with NEP 2020, where the home language, bringing home language into the classroom, right, using, right, bringing text to in these languages, all these things are emphasized. We are kind of lost for resources. Like we don't have enough resources to bring them all in. So some people have started trying all these automatic translations, right? Like for instance, in Kerala, if you see, already the government has brought in an initiative. 40 books have been translated. It's called Malayalam Digital Library, right? And already it's been like translated through machine, help of machine translation systems. And what happened in Madhya Pradesh with the medical science, books and other things, engineering books that they brought in, right? So a lot of them were transliterations people criticize, but yet, the pressure on government departments is more, right, to act, show results, right? When the machine is there doing, and why are you waiting? That kind of thing, right? So somebody said, like, the Borong, I think, like, that now it's the age of reviewers and editors, right? Of course, you'll have to accept that fact, right? Because the demand is so much, right? Now you'll have to come to terms with this kind of things, right? But it is certainly like on a different plane. It's not like a human translation, but we have huge books like something like Invertebrate Zoology, which is like some 1,000 something pages, right? It covers like if a student picks it up at the first semester of their BSc, they can use it till the 4th semester of MSc. That kind of one book for all. But so much material is there in that. Who will translate it, right? And you cannot have many people. You cannot engage many people because there will be consistency problem. All those things like issues of translation will come in, right? So okay, I'll wind up. So what happens here, right? Choosing what kind of MT, right? So people are thinking that like GPTs, for instance, okay, that difference I'll tell you. NMT is trained on bilingual data sets, right? Neural machine translation, what Google Translate on all uses, right? Or Bing Translator, that is trained on bilingual sets, whereas GPT is trained on monolingual data set. Okay, That's why like GPT is able to change the level of the language. Or if you say like, okay, write the same paragraph, regenerate the same paragraph for a 12th grader. If you say it will regenerate, right? Slightly differently. But it cannot, in translation, at present it fails. That's all I can say, like, because I want to conclude. I cannot discuss the issues more, right? It fails, right? Other one, somewhat acceptable. You can still work with it, right? And I have results at the end, right, of a small paragraph that has been done. At the end of the paragraph, it is about actually from a book called Artificial Intelligence by Pavate. Like, at the end, there is a line comes, the ball has been set rolling. By the time the ball has been set rolling, and of course the machine translated again, like Chandus, started rolling. So it didn't catch the idiom. So it is at that stage. You'll have to work with it, right? But like he said, machine aided human translation. Now it's the age of human aided machine translation, right? It is there already, and we'll have to make adjustments, right? Use them in the best manner. Of course, probably it will be useful for all of us, and especially the next generation. Thank you for your patience here.
हे 1920 चित्र आशिल्लें. ह्या चित्रांत आमचें विश्व खंय आसा तें आतां आमी दोगांकडल्यान पळयतलें. आसा तो वेळ आमच्या हातांत, इतल्या भितर हें जावचें पडटलें आनी तो टायम मॅनेजमेंट ताणीच करपाचो. जाल्यार हांव चोपडेकाराक पयलीं आपयता, कारण ताचें काम आसा थोडेशें आज आमचे मदीं जे बसल्यात जांचे थोडो हुस्को आसा, दुबाव आसा, तांची एक वेगळी वाट जी तुमच्या हे पिरायेचेर तुमच्यांनी वापरूं येता.
ओके, हांवेन जो टॉपिक घेतला ते टॉपिकाचें नांव जावन आसा तंत्रीक अणकार, गरज, आव्हानां आनी उपाय. आतां तंत्रीक अणकार ह्या विशयाचेर वेगवेगळ्या मळाचेर वावर चलता. काळाचे गरजे प्रमाण अणकाराच्या मळार काम करपा खातीर जायते म्हज्या सारके तरणाटे रोजगाराचें एक साधन म्हूण ह्या मळार पांय दवरपाक सोदतात. पूण आव्हानां खबर नाशिल्ल्यान वा ताचेर उपाय खबर नाशिल्ल्यान तशेंच अणकार करपाचें कौशल्य नाशिल्ल्यान जायते जाण कोंकणीचें शास्त्रोक्त शिक्षण घेवन लेगीत ह्या मळार वावर करपाक फाटीं सरतात. जाता कितें की आमचे कडेन जे तरणाटे आसा तांकां खबर आसा की आमकां अणकारान स्कोप आसा म्हणून, पूण तो अणकार करता आसतना कितें जें आमकां फेस करचें पडटा थंय तें खबर ना, वा कितें जे कितें जाय पडटा म्हणजे शास्त्रोक्त पद्दत जाय पडटा ती अणकार करपाची ती खबर आसना, कौशल्य आसना, स्किल्स आसता, स्टायल्स आसता पळय ती खबर आसना, म्हणून आमकां प्रॉब्लेम जावपाक शकता. सो ती आयज हांव क्लियर करता, जी कितें आव्हानां आसा ती, तशेंच ताचेर उपायूय थोडे सांगतलो. तंत्री अणकार म्हटल्यार कितें तें सांगूं वचना, तरी उलोवप जाला. एकूच ही वळेरी जी थोडीशी मांडटा हांव. हितून स्पर्धात्मक परीक्षेन जावपी अणकारा अंतर्गत आशिल्ले विशय, हे जे विशय आसा देखीक रसायनशास्त्र, वनस्पतशास्त्र, जीवशास्त्र, हे जे सगळे टेक्निकल टर्म्स अशें म्हणूंक शकता आमी हेका. सो हे विशय सगळे जे आमकां जेन्ना आमी स्पर्धात्मक परीक्षेन जेन्ना काम करता वा वावर करता तेन्ना हे विशय जे आसता ताचेर आमकां नॉलेज आसची पडटा जेन्ना वावर करता पळय तेन्ना. सो ते हांव सगळें वाचूंक वचना, फुडें वता. स्पर्धात्मक प्राविण्य परीक्षेच्या मळाचेर कोंकणींतल्यान तंत्रीक अणकाराची गरज आनी अणकार तज्ञां खातीर संदी. आतां मेन म्हटल्यार सगळे हांगा बसले एक प्रश्नूय निर्माण जाल्लो की तरणाटे जे आसा तांकां एक ऑपॉर्च्युनिटी मेळटा काय वा ना काय, वा ताका फक्त कार्यालयांनीच मेळटा वा भायर खंय काम करपाक मेळटा वा ना, हो प्रश्न जे आसा पळय कितलेशेच निर्माण जाल्लो एक प्रश्न येयल्लो पूण तो क्लियर जावंक नासलो त्या वेळार. सो ताचेर एक थोडेशें म्हाका तकलेन हिंट जाल्लें की हय आमकां तरणाट्यांक जे कांय जे तरणाटे आसा पळय तांकां तितलो स्कोप मेळना कळ्ळें. सो तेजेर आव्हानां कितें, आमची गरज जी कितें आसा पळय ताचेर उलयता. स्पर्धात्मक परीक्षेचो अणकार करपा खातीर साबार विशयांतली विशय विशिश्ट शब्दावळ, भास आनी ह्या मळाचेर उच्च पांवड्या वयल्या कार्य पद्दतीची गरज आशिल्ल्या कारणान अणकार तज्ञांचो उणाव आसा. ह्या मळाचेर फावशे अणकार तज्ञ नाशिल्ल्यान ह्या मळाक रोजगाराची संद म्हणून पळोवपाची गरज आसा. जितले आमकां अणकार करपी तज्ञ जाय त्या लेवलाचेर त्या तज्ञांची कमीपण वा उणाव जो आसा पळय तो आमकां ह्या क्षेत्रान आमकां मुंबय जेन्ना काम करता पळय तेन्ना फेस जाता. कोणाक जे हें ना न्हू, शिक्षण ना ताचेर वा ताचेर तांकां नॉलेज ना, कोंकणीची जितली म्हायती ना, तसले सुद्दां मनीस येवन थंय अणकार करपाक बसतात आनी ते फेस करचे पडटा. कोण कन्सोलर आसता वा फायनल एडिट करता वा रिव्ह्यूअर करता पळय ताका ते फेस करचे पडटा. आनी तेन्ना ज्यो कितें मशीन ट्रान्सलेशनान जाल्ल्यो हे आसा पळय ते सगळे आमकां मागीर दिसून येता. फुडें आयच्या ह्या वैश्वीक जगान भाशेची शिमेर नाशिल्ल्यान कोंकणी भाशेचो वापर वैश्वीक स्तरार जावपाक लागला आनी फुडाराक ताचे प्रमाण वाडत वतले. ह्या संदीचो फायदो कोंकणी भाशेचे शास्त्रोक्त शिक्षण घेतिल्ल्या तरणाट्यांक जातलो. जो कोण आतां दिसता एक हे आसा की कोंकणीन आमकां कांय करूंक मेळना, कोंकणीन कांयच ना, कितें हे स्कोप आसा असो एक प्रश्न निर्माण जाता खूब जाणांच्या तरणाट्यांच्या मनान. आनी पयलीं म्हाज्याय आसलो, पूण जेन्ना हांव त्या फिल्डान पावलो तेन्ना कळूंक लागलो की कितलो स्कोप आमकां मेळटा कोंकणींतल्यान, जर आवड आसली जाल्यार आनी शिकपाची वृत्ती जर आसली जाल्यार. सो ते शिक्षण जे आसा पळय कोंकणीचें तें घेवप म्हत्वाचें. तातूंतल्यान आमच्यो कांय वाटो ज्यो आसा पळय त्यो आमकां मेकळेपणान उक्त्यो जातल्यो आनी आमकां रोजगाराची संदी जी आसा पळय ती मेळपाक शकतली. फुडें ह्या मळाचेर आयच्या काळान गोंया भायर वचून वावर करप अपेक्षीत आसा. अशा वेळार अणकार तज्ञांची सोय बेस बरी जाता आनी अर्थीक येणावळी अपेक्षीत आसता. जेन्ना काम करता तेन्ना एक येणावळ मेळपाकूच जाय. येणावळी खातीर सगळे जाण काम करतात. सो तिवूय सोय जी आसा पळय ती बरी तरेन केल्ली आमकां थंय पळोवपाक मेळटा. तशीच स्पर्धात्मक परिक्षेच्या मळार वावर करतना विंगड विशयांचें गिन्यान मेळटा. ह्या गिन्यानाचो फायदो अणकार तज्ञांक आपले कला कौशल्य वाडोवपा खातीर तशेंच भविश्यांतल्या अभ्यासा खातीर जाता. उत्कृश्ट तांकीचो वावर केल्ल्यान अणकाराच्या मळाचेर वावुरपी संस्था तशेंच हेर भासांतल्या अणकार तज्ञां कडेन दळणवळण करपाक संद मेळटा, जाचो भविश्यांत अणकाराचे प्रकल्प मेळोवपाक फायदो जावं येता. स्पर्धात्मक परिक्षे भायर खाजगी प्रकल्प घेवन कोंकणीन तंत्रीक अणकार करप्यां खातीर तंत्रीक दस्तावेज जशे संशोधन पत्रां, कंत्राट, तंत्रीक रेखाटनां, पेटंट, अभियांत्रिकी मजकूर, वापराची पट्टी, तपशील, तंत्रीक सुचोवण्यो वा सुचोवण्यो दिवपी पुस्तकां, उत्पादन वर्णनां आदी दस्तावेजांचो अणकार करपाक वाव मेळटा. जेन्ना आमी खाजगी प्रकल्प घेतात टॅक्निकल हेजे तेन्ना मुंबयत वचून काम करपा वांगडाच आमी हांगा घरा बसून जी येणावळ जी आसा पळय ती हे करूं शकता आनी तेजो खूब जो फायदो जो आहा पळय विशयांतल्यान आमकां वेगवेगळ्या विशयांतल्यान आमकां अणकार करपाक मेळटा. सो तेजो फायदो जो आसा आमकां घरा बसलेले कडेन मेळपाक शकता. एक हें जालो की लाखांनी म्हणटा जोडटा म्हणटा अणकार करपी, पूण अणकार करप्याक जर खरो जर अणकार करपी आसा तो न्हू दीस रात एक करता ते करपाक. आनी खरें सांगता लाख न्हू तुमी अशें म्हाका हांवें तरी काम केलां आनी म्हाका खबर आसा की तुमी 5 वा 6 दिसांनी लाखा वयर जोडूंक शकता. अशे प्रकल्प येतात आनी आंतरराष्ट्रीय मळार हेका खूब फायदो आसा. फक्त मुंबयत न्हू आंतरराष्ट्रीय मळार सुद्दां. मागीर फुडें अणकार करपाच्यो 3 पद्दती हांवें सांगल्या, तेजेर हांव चड उलोवप करिना. मशीन अणकार करतना कांय मुद्दे मतीन दवरचे पडटात. एक म्हटल्यार मशीन अणकार करप वा करप ना हो जो प्रश्न आसा पळय तो एक मेन क्लियर करपा सारको. म्हटल्यार मशीन अणकार करप ना हे आमी सगळेच मानून चलता, बट जेन्ना वेळाचें बंधन आसता तेन्ना कितें करचें. आतां एक असो प्रकल्प येयल्लो जेन्ना मुंबय गेलो तेन्ना एक असो प्रकल्प येयल्लो जातून एग्जाम सारकी लागीं तेकलेली परीक्षा आनी त्या वेळार दीस आनी रात आमकां थंय हांवें 16-17 वरां आमी काम केलें त्या दिसा. त्याचे तुमकां पयशे मेळटा ना न्हू, पयशे मेळटा, पूण ते करता आसतना वेळाचें बंधन आसता. सो त्या खातीर कांय जाण जे आसा पळय ते मशीन ट्रान्सलेशन त्या वेळार करताले आनी पयलीं आमकां हें खबर नासलें. सो हांव एक 8 दीस गेलें म्हाजे थंय आनी म्हाका दिसतालें की कोण पयलीं मशीन ट्रान्सलेशन करना अशें. सो एक दीस लायट गेली. सो ज्या दिसा लायट गेली पळय त्या दिसा कळोन येयलें की थंय मशीन ट्रान्सलेशन आहा तें करता आनी खूब प्रमाणान करता अणकार करपी, पूण कोण सांगिना किंवा आमी मशीन ट्रान्सलेशन करता म्हणून. सो जर मशीन ट्रान्सलेशन करता त्या अणकारप्यांक मागीर इतलोच हे की मशीन ट्रान्सलेशन जर करता जाल्यार ह्यो 4 गजाली ज्यो आसा पळय त्यो लक्षांत दवरच्यो. योग्य तंत्रीक संज्ञेचो वापर करप, योग्य वाक्य रचणूक करप, भाशेप्रमाण शुद्धलेखन करप आणि स्वताची कल्पकताय वापरून मजकुरान जीवसाण घालप. योग्य तंत्रीक संज्ञेचो वापर. तंत्रीक अणकार करताना वेगवेगळ्या विशयांत वेगवेगळ्या तंत्रीक संज्ञेचो वापर त्या संकल्पने प्रमाण जाता. एका उतराचे जायते पर्यायवाची शब्द आमकां मेळटात, पूण अर्था प्रमाण तांची निवड करप गरजेची. एक चुकीचे उतर पुराय अर्थ बदलपाक शकता, जाचो परिणाम परीक्षेंत वांटेकार जावपी उमेदवारांक वा विद्यार्थ्यांक भोगचो पडटा. दुसरे, योग्य वाक्य रचणूक करप. मशीन ट्रान्सलेशन जेन्ना करता न्हू तेन्ना वाक्य रचणूक जी आसा ती म्हत्वाची आमकां थंय आसता, जी सारकी मिक्सअप जाल्ली आसता. जे आमी जेन्ना रिव्यू करता पळय तेन्ना आमकां सारके ते मिक्सअप जे ह्या तातूंत अर्थ कांयच आसना त्या सेंटेन्साचो. जाला कशें की थंय भुरगीं जी अप्लाय करता परिक्षेंत ती कमी प्रमाणान करता, जे आमकां मागीर जो नंबर आहा पयला कोंकणीचो तो दिसून येता. सो रचणूक जी आसा पळय, वाक्य रचणूक जी आसा ती बरे तरेन जावपाक जाय, कारण ती जर जाली ना जाल्यार आमकां अर्थ समजोवपाक कठीण जातलो. हे सिंपल सारके आमी लक्षांत दवरपाक जाय विशय. मागीर कोंकणीच्या संदर्भात मशीन अणकार मळ फावो तितले विकसीत जावंक नाशिल्ल्यान अणकारीत मजकुरांत भास विज्ञानाची तशेंच व्याकरणीक चुको पळोवपाक मेळटात, जाचो परिणाम अणकाराच्या गुणवत्तेचेर जाता. मागीर स्वताची कल्पकताय वापरून मजकुरांत जीवसाण घालप. हे म्हत्वाचें. आमी म्हणटा की ट्रान्सलेशन जे आसा क्रिएटीव रायटींग वा ना. हो एक विचार येयल्लो, मशीन ट्रान्सलेशन हे क्रिएटीव या ना, क्रिएटीव ते या कितें. सो एक प्रश्न येयल्लो तेन्ना ते तरी म्हाका सांगूंक दिसता, मशीन ट्रान्सलेशन आमी जीवसाण घालूंक शकना. कळ्ळें. जर आमी तेजे मशीन ट्रान्सलेशन पोस्ट एडिटींग जर करता, कळ्ळें, जर एक म्हणया की बरो मॅटर आसा आनी तो आमी जर पोस्ट एडिटींग करता तेन्ना ते बरे सुदारणा जावंक शकता त्या मॅटराची. सो ती करता आसतना काय गजाली लक्षांत दवरच्यो त्यो ह्यो. दर एक अणकार करपी व्यक्तीची अणभवा प्रमाण आनी कौशल्या प्रमाण वेगळी अशी म्हणपाची पद्दत वा शैली आसता, जातून तो सारभूत अणकार करून स्त्रोत भाशेंतलो अर्थ कल्पकतायेचो वापर करून कलात्मक रितीन वाचका मेरेन पावयता. मशीन अणकार करून लेगीत हे कलात्मक रितीचो वापर करून वाचप्यांक आकर्षित करप हे एक आव्हानच. सो फुडें टायम आसा न्हू. ओके, फास्ट वायंड अप करता. शिक्षणीक मळार स्पर्धात्मक परिक्षेंत अणकारांत आशिल्लीं आव्हानां. तंत्रीक मळावेल्या अणकाराचो अभ्यास करून कलागुण विकसीत करपाची गरज आसा. आनी फुडें विज्ञानीक, अभियांत्रिकी आनी गणित विशयांतल्या शब्दकोशांची आनी पारिभाशीक कोशांची गरज. हो जो मेन मुद्दो तो मांडपाक सोदता हांव. विज्ञानीक, अभियांत्रिकी आनी गणित विशयांतल्या शब्दकोशांची आनी परिभाशीक कोशांची गरज आसा. जेन्ना आमी अणकार करतात त्या वेळार आमकां हाचें कमीपण जें आसा पळय तें सारकें भासता. त्या वेळार जेन्ना आमकां हे टर्म्स जे आसता मेळना पळय तेन्ना, सो हे अवेलेबल करून दिवपाक जाय, जाल्यारूच अणकार करपाक एक बरो मजकूर रेडी जाला अशें आमी म्हणूंक शकता. फुडें कोंकणी अणकारांत हेर भाशेचो गंध दिसून येता. आतां जाल्लें अशें आसता जेन्ना शास्त्रोक्त पद्दत शिकूंक नाशिल्ल्या कारणान वा कोंकणीची नॉलेज नाशिल्ल्या कारणान फक्त रोजगार म्हणून जेन्ना आमी थंय वचून काम करपाचेर भर घालता, त्या वेळार न्हू दुसरी भास जी आसा न्हू ते भाशेचो गंध जो आसा पळय तो आमकां आमच्या मजकुरान दिसून येता. सो ते टाळपा खातीर शिक्षण घेवप हें सारकें म्हत्वाचें. एक अभ्यासू वृत्ती दवरपाक जाय की बाबा आमकां हें शिकपाक जाय आनी हे भाशेंतल्यान दुसरी भाशेचो गंध आसा पळय तो येवपाक जायना. आमची भास ही आमची भास, कळ्ळें. दुसरी भाशेची जेन्ना आमी उतरावळ घेता तेन्ना अशें दिसून येता की आमचे कडेन ती नॉलेज ना कशी. फुडें आनी एक हें म्हणटा, गोंयांत शिक्षण माध्यम म्हूण कोंकणीची गरज. गोंयांत शिक्षण माध्यम म्हणून कोंकणीची गरज कितली आसा सगळ्यांक खबर आसतलो. नोकरेक संबंधीत विज्ञानीक परिक्षेंत विद्यार्थी वांटो घेतात, पूण इंग्लीश भाशे वांगडाच कोंकणी ही दुसरी भास म्हूण घेवपी विद्यार्थ्यांचो आंकडो खूब कमी आसता. हाचे मूळ कारण म्हणल्यार भारतांत कांय कडेन थळाव्यो भासो शाळेचे शिक्षण माध्यम म्हूण वापरांत आसात, पूण गोंयांत शिक्षण माध्यम म्हूण कोंकणीचो वापर चड प्रमाणात दिसून येना. समजा उपायांचेर वता. आव्हानांचेर उपाय. स्वताक प्रेरीत करून फावोशी पावलां उखलप. दर एका मळार सुरवातीक सगळ्यांक आव्हानांक तोंड दिवचें पडटा. हे मळार काम करपाक स्वताक प्रेरीत करून फावोशी पावलां उखलपाची गरज आसा. ह्या मळार वावर करपाक कोंकणी तशेंच हेर भासांतल्या तंत्रीक विशयांचें वाचन करप भोव फायदेशीर थारूं येता. कोंकणी ही आपली मायभास म्हूण वेगवेगळ्या तंत्रीक मळाचेर कार्यरत आशिल्ल्या तज्ञांचो हातभार लागल्यार कोंकणीन शब्दकोश आनी परिभाषा कोश निर्मिवपाक आदार मेळपाक शकता. असले तंत्रीक आनी विज्ञानीक कोश निर्मिवपाक CSTT कमिशन फॉर सायंटिफीक अँड टेक्निकल टर्मिनॉलॉजी ही संस्था तशेंच गोंयच्यो कांय संस्था ज्यो आसा त्यो हातभार आपलो दितात. मागीर वावराची तांक आनी गुणवत्ता सक्रियपणान वाडोवप. अणकारप्यांनी अभ्यासू वृत्ती दवरून आपल्या वावराची तांक आनी गुणवत्ता सक्रियपणान वाडोवपाची गरज आसा. हाचे खातीर कोंकणी विद्यार्थ्यांनी मनाची तयारी दवरून स्वताचे कलागुण वाडोवपाचेर भर दिवची. कोंकणी मळार खूब अणभवी आनी तंत्रीक मळार वावुरपी भासशास्त्रज्ञ, जाणकार आनी अणकारपी आसात. ताचे कडल्यान अडचणी वेळार मदत मेळिल्ल्यान गुणात्मक मजकूर तयार करप सोपें जावं येता. आनी अखेरचो म्हटल्यार एक उच्च तांकीचो तंत्रीक अणकार करपी जावपा खातीर अणकाराचो सराव करप ह्या मळार सातत्यान वावर करपाची गरज आसा. आतां आमी अणकार करपाक भितर सरता, पूण जर आमकां डिफिकल्टी आयली जाल्यार आमी ते फाटीं सरता आनी आपली पावलां जी आसा पळय ती फाटीं मारतात. सो थंय तो गॅप पडटा पळय तेच एक आमकां फाटीं उरपाचें कारण. सो आमी टेक्निकल जेन्ना ट्रान्सलेशन जेन्ना म्हणटा तें करीत रावपाक जाय, सातत्यान करीत रावपाक जाय. जातूंतल्यान आमची जी जो प्रोडक्ट निर्माण जातलो पळय तो वेगळो आसूं येता. देव बरें करूं. सांगा करता.
कांयच उपाय ना. पयलींचे लोक खूब कितें सांगपाक सोदतात पूण अखेर वेळाचें बंधन आसा. स्नेहाबाय सरळ एक सेकंद सुद्दां घालोवपाक सोदना, कारण ते स्वताच सगळे आयोजक म्हणटकच वेळाचें बंधन ताजेर सगळ्यांत चड येता. आनी हांवें ताका पयलींच कानमंत्र दिला, तुका 10 मिनटां. उपाय ना. ताणें केल्लें काम इतलें आसा आनी तें 10 मिनटांत सांगप आतां अर्थात तें स्नेहाक शक्य आसा अशें हांव समजता आनी ताणें तें करचें अशें मागता.
आयोजक म्हणटकच आमकां हांगा पयलींच एक बंधन घाला तें म्हळ्यार आमकां 5:30 मिनट ऑडिटोरियम तांकां दिवपाक जाय आनी 15 मिनटां आसा. आनी म्हाका अपेक्षा आसा की आमचे जे मानेस्त आयल्यात NTMच्यान नॅशनल ट्रान्सलेशन मिशन तांच्या खातीर तुमचे प्रश्न आसतले म्हणटकच हांव जाता तितले बेगीन सोंपोवपाचो प्रयत्न करता. आनी आयचे जे पॅनलिस्ट आसा तांणी बी म्हजें काम सोंपें केलां, कारण तंत्रीक अणकार नॉलेज टॅक्साचेर आनी लोकलायझेशनाचेर उलयल्यात. सो कांय गजाली रिपिटेशनूय आसा, सो ते हांव टाळटां. कायदो संबंधी अणकार म्हणटा तेन्ना इट बिकम्स अ पार्ट ऑफ टेक्निकल ट्रान्सलेशन. सो टेक्निकल ट्रान्सलेशन includes economics, law, business, etc. And in reality, technical means precisely that, something to do with technology and technological text. Now, this is a definition by Jody Byrne. हाच्या हांवें अणकारूय थंय दिल्लो आसा. म्हणटकच आमकां कळटा की टेक्निकल म्हणटा तेन्ना इट इज समथींग टू डू विथ technology and technological text. Now, this is a specialized kind of a translation. म्हणटकच ह्या प्रकारचं ट्रान्सलेशन जे आमी लिटररी ट्रान्सलेशन करता ताच्या भायलो आसा, ताच्या परस वेगळो आसा. कायदो संबंधी अणकार हो तंत्रीक अणकाराचो भाग जाता. तातूंत आमी लिगल डॉक्युमेंट्स ट्रान्सलेट करता. वी ट्रान्सलेट एक्ट्स, ट्रान्सलेशन ऑफ rules, then bills, judgments, etc. are part of this. Also, translation of gazettes, translation of constitution would be part of कायदो संबंधी अणकार, which is legal translation. एका ठराविक विशयाक धरून हो अणकार आसता. बट टेक्निकल ट्रान्सलेशन म्हणटा तेन्ना चडशे फावटी जर सायन्स डोमेनाक धरून आसता जाल्यार सायन्साच्या विशयाचेरूच अणकार करचो पडटा. बट लिगल ट्रान्सलेशन आसता तेन्ना फक्त सायन्स रिलेटेड आसचे ना, तातूंत केस कसली आसा ताका धरून आसतले. इट कॅन बी मेडिकल लिगल केस, सो मेडिकलाची बी ज्ञान आसचें पडटा. आता चडशे जाणांचें मत आसा की ट्रान्सलेटरा कडेन भाशेचें ज्ञान आसपाक जाय आनी ताका ट्रान्सलेशन स्कील आसपाक जाय. हे दोन स्कील जरी इम्पॉर्टंट असले, भाशेचें गिन्यान आणि अणकाराचें गिन्यान, ताचे भायर ताका कायदो विशयाचेंय बी गिन्यान आसचें पडटा. हांव म्हणना की सगळ्यांनी लॉ ग्रॅज्युएट जावपाक जाय आनी मागीर अणकाराक वचपाक जाय, पूण जर कोण ट्रान्सलेशनाचो जर पॅशन आसा कोणाक, जाल्यार ताणें रिसर्च करून ट्रान्सलेशनान कायदो संबंधी अणकार करपाक शकता. शब्दावलीची आडखळ आमकां सगळ्यांकूच खबर आसा, कोंकणीन शब्दावली ना. पूण शब्दावलीची आडखळ ही कायदो संबंधी अणकार करता तेन्ना वा खंयचेय जेन्ना टेक्निकल ट्रान्सलेशन करता तेन्ना इट इज ओन्ली 5 to 12% तुजो प्रॉब्लेम सॉल्व जाता. पूण जर त्या विशयाचें गिन्यान ना जाल्यार टर्मिनॉलॉजी आसली जाल्यार सुद्दां ट्रान्सलेशन करपाक जमपना. सो फक्त टर्मिनॉलॉजी आसली म्हणून जावचें ना. हांवें एग्जाम्पल्स दिला. रूल हाका नेम म्हणटात कोंकणीन, बट रूल स्टँड्स डिस्चार्ज हाका नेम निपटायलो अशें जर केलें जाल्यार इट इज रॉंग ट्रान्सलेशन. दिस इज एन एग्जाम्पल फ्रॉम द जजमेंट ट्रान्सलेशन ऑफ हायकोर्ट. ताचें करेक्ट ट्रान्सलेशन वूड बी न्यायाधीश निष्प्रभावी करप. नाव अगेन वेन आय से न्यायाधीश निष्प्रभावी करप, कॉमन मॅनाक ते कळटले काय ना, लोकांक कळटले काय ना इज अनदर क्वेश्चन. हावेवर टेक्निकल ट्रान्सलेशनाचे एक रूल आसा की युनिफॉर्मिटी आसपाक जाय. जेन्ना आमी कसलेंय ट्रान्सलेशन टेक्निकल ट्रान्सलेशन करता तेन्ना गायडलायन्स फॉलो करचे पडटा. सो तातूंत आसता एक म्हणल्यार पॅन एशियन उतरावळ वापरची. कोंकणी ही इंडो आर्यन भास कुळांतली म्हणटकच आमकां हिंदी, मराठी ह्या भाशेंचे एग्जाम्पल्स घेवन वा तांची जी टर्मिनॉलॉजी आसा ताजी देख घेवन आमकां ट्रान्सलेशन करचें पडटा. सो आमकां जेन्ना लिगल ट्रान्सलेशन आमी करतात तेन्ना न्यायाधीश निष्प्रभावी करप हे उतर आमकां वापरचें पडटा. आनी आय फील की वन्स वी यूज दीज टर्मिनॉलॉजीज ऑटोमॅटिकली पीपल विल ऑल्सो स्टार्ट युजींग देम. समानताय, consistency or uniformity. Paper बरयतना I took interview of Advocate Rishikesh Kadam. So he feels that consistency is very important because आयज जर आमी ट्रान्सलेशन करतना एक उतर वापरता विदाउट युजींग एनी टर्मिनॉलॉजी, कोंकणीन टर्मिनॉलॉजी ना म्हणटा आमी, आनी हांवें जर आतां ट्रान्सलेट करतना नेम हे उतर वापरलें, वेरेज कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ट्रान्सलेशन करतना प्रकाश थळी हांणी नियम हे उतर वापरलां. म्हणटकच आमकां तातूंत तफावत दिसता, कन्सिस्टन्सी ना. नियम हे मराठींतल्यान मराठीचो प्रभाव, वेरेज नेम हे कोंकणीचे अस्सल उतर. लास्ट इज विशयाचें गिन्यान आसप सक्तीचें. विशयाचें म्हणटा तेन्ना हांगा कायद्याचें गिन्यान आसप कंपल्सरी जाता, कारण इंग्लिशीन आमी वील म्हणटात आनी शाल म्हणटात, पण कायद्याच्या भाशेन वील हाका कंपल्शन येता, वेरेज शाल म्हणटा तेन्ना कंपल्शन येना. कोंकणीन ट्रान्सलेट करतना जर आमी दोगांचो अनुवाद जर हांव करतलें वा हांव करतलो अशें केलें जाल्यार तो चुकीचें जातलें. वील हाका कंपल्शन येतलें म्हणटकच हांव करतलोच वा हांव करतलेंच ही गजाल, आनी शाल हाका हांव करूंक शकता वा हांव करूंक सोदता ह्या नदरेंतल्यान ताजो अणकार जाता. आव्हानां म्हणटा तेन्ना संशोधनाचो आमच्या कडेन उणाव आसा. संशोधन म्हणटा तेन्ना कसलेंय उतर जर आमकां मेळना जाल्यार त्या उतराच्या मुळा मेरेन वचप हाजें खंय तरी आमच्या स्वभावानूच तें खंय तरी ना. कितलोय तो एक्सपिरियन्स अणकारपी आसत, पूण ताच्या कडेन जर संशोधनाची उक्ती ना जाल्यार ताका आडखळ जातलीच. एक्झाम्पल्स दिल्या ती ऑर्डर, जजमेंट एंड डिक्री. ही 3 उतरां लिगल हितूंतली सेटअपांतली, पूण ऑर्डर हाका आमी कोंकणीन आदेश हे उतर वापरतात. जजमेंटाक एकतर निवाडो घेतात नाल्यार न्याय निवाडो घेतात. तशेंच डिक्री हाका हुकुमनामो घेता. लिगल ट्रान्सलेशन करतना जेन्ना इंग्लिशीन तांकां वेगवेगळे उतर दिल्ले आसा म्हणटकच तांचो अर्थय वेगळो आसा. कोंकणीनूय बी तांकां वेगळी उतरां दिवची पडटात. म्हाका मातशी थंडी जाल्या म्हणून त्रास जाता उलोवपाक. स्रोत भाशेन बदलपी उतरां सोर्स टेक्स्ट वी सी दॅट इंग्लिश इज अ डेव्हलपिंग लँग्वेज अँड ऑल्सो इंग्लिशीन काय उतरां आसात ती पयलींच्या तेंपार जी वापरताली ती आतां बदलूंक लागल्या. फॉर एक्झाम्पल हाऊसवाईफ एका टायमार आमी वापरताले पूण आतां तें उतर बदलून होममेकर जाला. पूण हांकां आमकां कोंकणीन इक्विवेलंट्स अजून मेरेन तरी तशी मेळना. ती क्रिएट करून घडणुकेन हाडची पडटली. लोकांचे भाशेन सादे सोपे पद्दतीन अणकार सर्रासपणान जेन्ना हे जजमेंट ट्रान्सलेशन जाता तेन्ना इट हॅज टू बी पीपल फ्रेंडली. पूण बिकॉज इट इज टेक्निकल ट्रान्सलेशन हे गजालीचेर खंय तरी आडनदर जाल्ली दिश्टी पडटा. लोकांक कळपाक जाय म्हणून जर आमी सोंपे करपाक गेले जाल्यार ताजो अत्यानुवाद जावपाक शकता आनी अत्यानुवादांतल्यान जजाक कितें सांगपाक जाय ताच्या भायल्यो गजाली जर आमी एड केल्यो जाल्यार ते अणकार सारके जावचे ना. संधी हांव अवॉइड करता. रेकमेंडेशन कन्क्लुजन अणकार हो एक स्वतंत्र विशय आनी एक शास्त्रीय शाखा म्हणून आमी सगळ्यांनी पळोवपाची गरज आसा. तशेंच अणकार जशें सकाळी पॅनल डिस्कशनानूय सांगला त्या प्रमाणे अभ्यासक्रमाची एक गरज आसा, वेगळो एक अभ्यासक्रम. तशेंच प्रशिक्षण केंद्र स्थापन जावपाची गरज आसा आनी जंय इंटर्नशीप करपाक मेळटले अणकारप्यांक. शब्दावली भायर वेगवेगळे कोश तयार करपाक जाय आनी अणकार प्रक्रिया सोपी करूंक म्हळ्यार अणकारप्यांक आदार जावचो. जशें विन्स्टन बाबान म्हणलें की ह्युमन एडेड मशीन ट्रान्सलेशन, सो ताची एक गरज आसा. आनी हें काम सुरू जालां. AI भारत काम करता, तशेंच मायक्रोसॉफ्टानूय काम चालू आसा. सो हाचो आदार करून आमी ट्रान्सलेशनाची जी प्रक्रिया आसा ती सोपी करतली. म्हळ्यार एकदां जर जजमेंट ट्रान्सलेट जाल्लें आसा जाल्यार तीच उतरां आमकां सोंपेपणान AI टुलांचेर मेळटली आनी तातूंत कन्सिस्टन्सी बी उरतली. देव बरें करूं.
4 मिनिटात 2 प्रश्न येऊ शकता जाल्यार येवपाक हरकत ना. ना जाल्यार सगळे प्रश्न जमा करात. हे दोगूय जाण आसतले, हे 4 लोक आसतले फाल्यां. म्हणजे ताजे वयलो सोंपो उपाय. हा, म्हणजे तो एक भाग आसा. पण प्रश्न विचारपाक हरकत ना, कारण ह्या सत्राचो तो भाग तांचे दृश्टीन 5:30 दारां बंद करपाची आसा. आमी दारां उक्तीं करपाची जाल्यार आमच्या हातान 2 मिनटां आसात. हांव जाणा प्रश्न खूब आसतले. घडये लोक विचार करतात की आता नाच म्हणटा वेळ जाल्या आनी कित्याक विचारूं, अशें आसूं येता. पण हांव जे हे लोक सांगतात तातूंत एक गजाल थोडीशी जोडटा. ती इतल्याच खातीर की आमी सगळे लोक जर अणकार गंभीरसाणीन घेवपाक सोदता जाय जाल्यार आमी सगळ्यांनी आमच्या भाशांच्या शिक्षणा कडेन पळोवपाची गरज आसा अशें म्हाका प्रामाणीकपणान दिसता. आनी हे भाशांचें शिक्षण फक्त महाविद्यालयांत, विश्वविद्यालयांत न्ही, ज्या जाग्यार ताचें मुळावण जाता. कारण आज नवें शिक्षण धोरण सांगता की भुरगे जी भास घेवन येता ते भाशेंतल्यान ताका शिकय, ते भाशेंतल्यान ताका शिकपाच्यो संदी दी. ही आमकां केदी व्हडली संद. फाटलीं सगळीं धोरणां आयल्या. 1986तलें निमाणें धोरण आशिल्लें तेन्ना आमी राज्य जावन आशिल्ले, म्हणटकच आमचे कडेन राजभास नाशिल्ली. आज आमचे कडेन राजभास आसा. राजभास संचालनालय हें सगळें घडोवन हाडटा. तेन्ना हांव असो विचार करता की पयली संद नवें शिक्षण धोरण आमकां दिता की बाबा रे, म्हजें भुरगें अमकी भास घेवन ह्या हे शाळेंत येता. हें सांगपी आमचे भितर कितले जाण आसात? हें सांगपाची गरज आसा की आमचे भुरगे खंयची भास घेवन येता आनी तें जी भास घेवन येता ती मुळांत आसा कशी, हेंय बी आयच्या तरणाट्यांनी समजून घेवपाची आसा. कारण आयच्या तरणाट्यांक मार्सेल म्हटल्यार वायट दिसना. म्हाका कच्च जाता मार्सेल म्हणटकूच. मार्सेल म्हणून खंय तें, अंजुना म्हणून खंय तें, आरपोरा म्हणून खंय तें. पुर्तुगेज वचून वर्सां कितली जाली? 60 जाली. पूण आमचे तकलेंतलें हें बदलना. आमकां हडफडें आसा, आमचें हणजूण आसा, आमचें माशेल आसा. हे खंय चुकल्या आमी? कारण आमी मुळात आमचे भाशे कडेन जितली पोटतिडक जाय थंय आमी कमी पडटा अशें म्हाका दिसता. ह्या निमतान अणकाराचो निमित्त अणकाराचें जालें जाल्यारय प्रश्न भाशेचो आसा आनी भास शिकपाचो आसा आनी ते नदरेन वापरपाचो आसा. कारण भास वापरल्या शिवाय अणकार जायना. यंत्रान वापरू किंवा तुम्ही वापरू, आणि जर ह्युमन एडेड मशीन ट्रान्सलेशन करपाचें आसत जाल्यार आमी कितले कोंकणी ह्युमन, कोंकणीक आमी ट्रिटमेंट कसली दिता हाचोच विचार करपाची गरज आसा. ह्या खातीर ह्या सत्रांतले प्रश्न फाल्यां घेवंक मेळटले, ताजेर वेगळें सत्र आसा अशें स्नेहाबाईन आतांच सांगलां. म्हणून हांव फक्त म्हाका ही संद मेळ्ळी ह्या खातीर आयोजकांचे देव बरें करूं म्हणटा. त्यांनी वेळा भितर हें सगळें आटापाक हाडलें, त्या खातीर तांकां देव बरें करूं. तुमी शेवट पर्यंत बसून रावले, आयकलें हाजे बद्दल दुबावत ना, पूण बसून रावले ह्या खातीर देव बरें करूं. थांबता.
I thank our moderator and the speakers for such an enlightening session. I'm certain that our participants have definitely benefited from the same. I now request Ms. Clarinda Dines to kindly present our moderator and speakers with mementos as a token of our love and appreciation. Dr. Narayan Desai, Mr. S. Winston Cruz, Mr. Biswadip Gogoi, Mr. Balkrishna Chopdekar, and last but not the least, Ms. Sneha Sabnis. Thank you, ma'am.